Wake the fuck up!
Can't get you by surprise when we record like this, can I? I can't just start it whenever. You know. If you don't know, mixing things up, trying to get you guys the best experience. Audio was a little different for whatever reason last week. I don't know what it was. I don't think either of us changed anything, but it was just different. So trying things over Zoom this week. Maybe soon a visual installation. Put in the MP4. You know, and people can see our bright shining faces. Could be. Who knows? Give you a heads up right now that we're planning on at least the majority, if things go the way they did with Peacemaker and No Way Home, probably the whole episode.
It'll be the whole thing.
There's quite a bit to dissect, especially with the whole series. If you don't know, big release came out last weekend, The Batman, with Robert Pattinson. So we're going to do a little spoiler cast on that. Same rules as the other two. At this point, you guys should know the rules. I'm a little upset if you don't. But going to be spoilers all throughout the episode. So if you still want to see the movie spoiler free, haven't gotten around to it, we totally understand if you can't get to it release day. But, you can always come back after you see the episode. But this is just your one and only warning. I'm only telling you once that this is going to be loaded with spoilers. So if you've already seen the movie or if you just don't care about the spoilers before you go see it, this is the place to be. Love Batman movies. But before we get into it, also wanted to shout out Godfather's Pizza back in Fort Dodge today. This is the first day back, real hype about it. Going to go pick myself up a Godfather's Pizza for supper. I was going to just get it delivered, but I already did. I did DoorDash like 2 days ago. I didn't know Godfather's was opening. So I was like, well, I don't want to pay the delivery cost. So,
right. But, they just reopened?
Yes, today's their first day. If you're not a Fort Dodgeanite or you don't know about Godfather's Pizza slaps. We had one here for ever since I can remember, and then it closed down I think last year, and now Fort Frenzy, the big what even is it anymore? There's a bunch of games and stuff you can do, go-karts, laser tag, bunch of stuff. Right next to it, I'm pretty sure it's a separate entity still in the building, but it's separate. There's a completely different door to get in. It's separated from Fort Frenzy and everything. And it looks really nice. And I think they still have a drive-through too. So popping on for that. But I want to get some Godfather pizza. Tossing up between taco and pepperoni. Taco's already good and Godfather's is already that much better, but you can't go wrong with the classic pepperoni pizza, so I think I'll probably go with that. But yeah, that's kind of the highlight of my week. Work went good. It's been kind of a quiet week, hadn't been too bad. Started warming up a little bit, but I think it's a little chillier out today. Hopefully we'll get to some nicer days here towards next week. You got anything to report, sir, from the week?
Nah, man, I want to get into this.
We did watch the Smash Bros tournament.
Right, and the meat and the potatoes stand.
Yeah, we can get into it.
None of the preamble.
We'll talk about Smash Bros some other time during some competitive scene. But all right, the moment you've all been waiting for, the Batman, Robert Pattinson's The Batman, Matt Reeves The Batman. Parker, what do we think?
It's a good one, man. I don't know. I was never even really that attached to the original trilogy, I was never, I don't know. I guess I didn't necessarily grow up with them, but I don't know, sometime in high school, I got the whole trilogy and watched them all in a row. And I almost didn't watch the rest of them because Batman Begins is not a good movie. I don't know if anyone's going to be flaming me in the comments, review bombing us for that one. But I thought it was a snoozer. I fell asleep halfway through when I watched it the first time. And then I watched The Dark Knight. Phenomenal, of course. Everyone knows that. Dark Knight Rises, really good. Should have been the second movie, and Dark Knight should have been the one to end it. But like,
Dark Knight Rises is only
solid
0.1. Dark Knight Rises is only 0.1 points higher on IMDb than Batman Begins. That's kind of a travesty.
I mean, is it though?
I think so.
Dark Knight Rises isn't.
I like it
good.
more than 0.1 points better, you know.
Well, that's for me. It's because I don't think in terms of 0.1, Dan. It's 0.5. You know.
Oh, sure.
Those are the increments my brain uses.
Sure.
But like, it's better, but it's not much better.
Yeah. I'm with you on it. I like it. I like it a lot. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, I shouldn't think about it in this way, but I'm like, how does it compare to Christopher Nolan's series? And it's like, well, I would say it's just as good, but they're good for different reasons, right? Like Christopher Nolan's just really good with action. Christian Bale just like was the first, I feel like, Batman to really knock it out of the park. He's just great as Batman and Bruce Wayne. And like Michael Caine is really good as Alfred. The casting, who played Bane? Is it Tom Hardy? It's not. Is it Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
And there's like big names that Heath Ledger, like, of course, I mean, like insane performance as the Joker, and you would have loved to see him go on in movies, but just, you know, tragic stuff happens, and you know, I guess at least we got to see that performance. I think that's a really hard thing with that role too, especially if you get into method acting, is just like it can take you over, which could be why we haven't really seen it in that capacity. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix had the standalone just Joker film, which is a way different take, of course, on the Joker, but I'm pretty sure looking at stuff that he talked about, I mean, just taking on that role is like insane for your mentals. It's really hard. So go ahead and I'll spill the beans on that one, that we're going to be seeing it, I'm guessing, in the next movie, the Joker. They really set that up hard, which is I think when it's really, people are going to start to compare the two series, because that's like the biggest movie in the Dark Knight trilogy. But again, like I was saying, they're so different. I kind of got sidetracked. Christopher Nolan big into action and all that stuff, but Matt Reeves' take is just this dark detective. Like Gotham is the shittiest place on earth. There's crime everywhere. It's this dark, dreary place, and he did it so well.
I think that's the big thing to compliment first, right? Is the like visuals, the whole like presentation, like visuals plus music, to me were like incredible.
I was
real good.
I was just gonna look up the whatever the motif is, his Batman's theme, because you can tell there's times when they look at the shadows and it doesn't play, and then they'll turn to a shadow and his theme starts playing. You're like, he's in there. That's him.
Yeah, they had a lot of motifs, like they used Ave Maria too throughout a bunch of it, which was neat.
I'm trying to listen to it, see if I can find it
Are you?
in the trailer.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I looked over and I saw you like had the phone up to your ear.
The Riddler is every once in a while when he's on the screen, they just have like strings plucking in like a really like disgusting way. And
but yeah, that can be where we go next with this. What did you think about the villains? Like Riddler, of course, the main one, but like
I just found that theme. It's like that boom, 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 boom. Like it when that that was his theme. So it was just a really good theme. Sorry to cut you off. What was the question?
No, you're good. What your take on the villains? Of course, Riddler being the main one, but
so many people hated the Riddler in this because he's like supposed to be this dude in this green costume who's like, riddle me this, Batman. But like it's just a geeky dorky thing. He's not very like intimidating. He's just this dude who has a bunch of riddles. And I think it was in one of the it's something JJ does the like spoofs of things like old cartoons and stuff.
Oh,
He'll
Solid
retweet
JJ. is his
Solid
name,
JJ.
Yeah.
Like he even did one of the Batman and Riddler things from the cartoons. And there's a lot of people who like just want people to stick to like the cartoon, or not cartoons, the comics, and do everything that's been in the comics forever. And I like this take, which is like the more to go with the more dark world that Reeves is hopefully building, but at least that we had this movie set in. I think he just fits in it so much more. Like the crazy like taped up mask and stuff, and just the dull colors for like what he wears, and like the riddles that he had were amazing, and all of the setups. The story behind the whole thing I feel like was even better, about how it's like this whole town is supposed to be going through a renewal, and you can see that it's obviously not. It's a shithole of a place, and the Riddler's exposing that. He's like, this isn't a renewal, this is a front for everything that's been going on. Carmine Falcone, another like great, obviously doesn't get really as much screen time as the Riddler because he's not the main villain, but like he's this mob boss who we learn later in the movie turned on his own people anyways, so he can have all the power that's in Gotham. And yeah, I just all of the villains in it, because it was Falcone, it's the Riddler, Penguin, Cobblepot. That's I think he's supposed to be getting a spinoff. I think somebody told me, which is kind of cool, a spinoff series. Just because I don't know if I'd want to see it in like a full-fledged movie, him coming to power. So it'd be kind of nice if this next movie, I don't want to say that he shouldn't be in it, but if it's not like a ton of screen time, it would be cool to kind of fill a hole of like, this is what's going on maybe with Cobblepot, his rise to power, and what's going on as he takes over. Because I'm pretty sure he ends up taking over like Falcone's spot. Like he runs the underbelly of Gotham and everything.
Yeah, I want to, before we get too far off Riddler, I want to say I definitely was not a believer in him at first. The scene that made me think, like, sort of change my mind was the one of him and Batman in Arkham. That like one-on-one scene.
That's
That
a
was
really good scene.
really good. Because before it's like, I don't know, he was just kind of a guy mad and yelling and shit. And I was like, all right, man, this is just they just wanted to do Joker. But then I think he sort of becomes way more unique once he like takes off the mask and like actually has his own thing. Because he's a lot more, maybe that is the right word, like almost like secluded or hermited than Joker was.
Yeah. Well, and I think the Joker's whole thing with Batman is like, obviously he wants him to suffer, and there's the dichotomy of he knows the Joker can do whatever he wants because he's not going to get killed, and he just loves the fact that he can get away with whatever and get into Batman's head, because he wins either way. Either he keeps doing this stuff and tearing Gotham down, or Batman's going to kill him and he's going to give in. And I feel like the Riddler's whole thing, I mean, at the beginning, it just seems like he wants to expose everybody. But then we learn, like you said, pretty much when he gets to Arkham, I think that it's really just he was an orphan, and Bruce Wayne is also supposed to be an orphan. But like he says, his viewpoint is Bruce was living up in the ivory tower. He literally says looking down on all of them, and he's this orphan who's just getting pampered. Meanwhile, he talks about like, that's not what being an orphan is. An orphan is sharing a room with 50 other kids, and the babies like die every winter, and just all this stuff. So it kind of goes from just wanting to take down the elites to I mean, his hatred for Bruce Wayne, and like the fact that he wants to expose it, because we do learn towards the end, like Batman thinks that's what's going on. We'll get into that later, but it's actually not. But we do learn that Riddler learns his identity at some point.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I don't know. That was another sort of thing. You can stop me if this point ends up being a too off track one, but like one of the small complaints I had was they were like, I think it was when he went in the orphanage, like Bruce saw the thing about like how his dad was like actually a pretty shitty guy, right? But then he like goes to Alfred when he's like on his deathbed, or not really his deathbed, because I guess he ends up living, but like what we could have assumed for a while would to be his deathbed. Uh and he was like, "Oh no, your dad like didn't actually do those things," which like I don't know. I kind of wish they would have just gone all the way with it and been like, "Yeah, he did. Like your dad's a shitty guy," because like I think that would have made it the like him with his parents thing a lot more interesting versus just, "Oh yeah, you're right. They were perfect people." Because that's sort of, I don't know, that's sort of the vibe it gives off instead, which I makes it kind of like, I don't know, like, wow, Riddler's a really bad guy. When I think it would be a lot more compelling if, like, well, they were kind of shitty people.
yeah. Well,
Because most of the other people are, but they don't really, I don't know.
I don't think it was. I guess he did kind of say that he wasn't. Alfred said that his dad wasn't a shitty guy, but it was more. I think the Riddler was like, he's like, yeah, your dad like was into all this stuff with Falcone, like he was in his pocket, and then he goes to Falcone, and Falcone's like, yep, your dad. I helped him out a little bit, and he helped me a little bit, and then Maroni just had him killed, and then he goes to talk to Alfred. And he's like, yeah, like Thomas Wayne's a piece of shit. I've been doing this for my dad the whole time. And then he got killed by Maroni. And he learns that like all that stuff got out about his mom, or Thomas's wife, Martha Wayne, and her dad or her husband was just trying to protect her and her kid, because I think he knew that like they would be destroyed, and she'd probably have to go back if something happened. So it was a last resort, like Alfred said, a moment of weakness. He goes to Falcone, and then he just wanted the guy to get scared, and Falcone killed the guy, and then Falcone killed him because like Thomas realized what a lapse of judgment it was, and he was like, I'm gonna turn myself in. This is terrible. Like this man's blood is on my hands. So I think it was to a certain extreme where Bruce thought he was just this terrible dude who was fueling Falcone and like giving into all this criminal activity, when really it was just he had a momentary lapse of weakness. He did it for his family. He didn't do it for his image or anything. And like ultimately he was trying to right the wrong, and he got killed by Falcone.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I don't
But
know.
I do get where you're coming from. I think it would be better, or I don't know. I don't want to say better, but it definitely would have been a different approach to just be like, yes, your man is not the man that you thought he was. He made mistakes, and then
Yeah.
just change the ship from, well, I'm not going to do it for my parents anymore. I'm just going to do it to clean up the city, because the corruption was really that deep.
Yeah, I think what it really comes down to is it just would have made Riddler even more compelling because he would have just been like almost right in a way. Not, I
Yeah.
mean, of course, not exactly right. Like,
No, I get what you mean though,
but
because like at least he's in a position where like people being behind him kind of makes sense. You can have that group who's got kind of really like out there ideals who could like potentially follow him, which does end up happening.
mhm.
You want to talk about how the setup of the time frame, how it's year two?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of neat because it was like there was so much. I think that's probably why I liked it way better than Batman Begins. Honestly, was because that movie is so much exposition and like setting shit up, and it's just so boring.
That's like his
This
training
one,
with Ra's al Ghul and stuff, isn't it? Like
yes,
going
yeah.
up in the mountains and all that stuff.
Meanwhile, this one, it's like, yeah, he's Batman. That's it. And it's like, all right, that's all I need to
can
know.
take that.
I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoy that a lot because I think in every other past Batman movie, I mean, you assume he's pretty far along into it, but you never really have a pretty solid time frame. And this one is like, it's like right at the beginning of the movie, he's doing like a journal entry, and he's like, this is my second year of the darkness, or something, like I've been in the dark for 2 years, which I think is really cool because it shows that like he's been in it, he's doing this, and he is getting a grasp on what he's doing, but he's not going to be perfect. There's a lot of fighting scenes where like he takes hits that he probably shouldn't take, just like punches, right at the beginning in that fight. Like we've seen in other movies where he just wouldn't get hit by a normal person, but he's taking hits. My favorite part is he's running from the cops after he gets captured. That's like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, where Gordon's like, give us the room. And he just like acts like he's giving it to Batman, like whispering to him, and he leans in. He's like, we gotta get you out of here. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm gonna give you the key. You're gonna swing on me. And he just decks it, like lays him on the ground, lays him out. And he's running through the building, runs up to the top of the building. You can tell he hasn't used that flight suit very much because he stands there. He's like, damn, this is like my only choice. And he starts putting on his flight suit. He uses it. Things are going pretty well. The camera angles on that were really cool. Kind of had it from his point of view, and then it would show you back at him. And then there's a bus and a bridge. I think this subway might have been coming on it. So he's trying to squeeze between that bus and the bridge, and he clips the bottom of that bridge, throws himself up into it. I'm like, oh my. Yeah. But it's that showing where he's like, he's not comfortable with this stuff yet. He doesn't know like how to use it 100%. So like stuff like that might happen.
Yeah. And another thing, like his little wingsuit looked kind of like shit, which I liked.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Well, that's another thing, the gadgets and stuff. I feel like gadgets haven't been a very big thing in Batman, and he used the grapple a handful of times in the movie, used a taser in his fist, I think once or twice. And then he had one gadget on one of his arms. I don't know if it was like, they kind of look like arrows, but I'm guessing they're not arrows. Mm-hmm. And I think he used a grenade to blow up a smoke thing on the Jumbotron towards the end of the movie. So a lot more gadgets, a lot more detective side and action. One of the complaints I have heard about that is there's not really like any Bruce Wayne. Even when he is Bruce Wayne, there's the ulterior motive that he wants it to further Batman. But I mean, to me, like I get the complaint because some people like that side where he is still like the really nice, like level-headed Bruce Wayne billionaire, very nice to the community and everything. And they kind of like the dichotomy between the two characters. But I understood it as like he's in his second year, so he doesn't know how to balance it that well, and he's just trying to be Batman like all the time. And I saw that from the beginning when they're supposed to be that, whether it's stockholders or accountant meeting, and that Alfred tells Bruce Wayne about, and he's like, no, I don't have time for it. I got to go out. I got to do the Batman thing. Like, I don't have time to deal with this. So I liked it because I could understand that aspect, but there has been, I think you told me you were kind of in that pool where you didn't really much care.
I think, the Bruce Wayne part of it was real weird. Like there was like one point, it was the scene with the funeral, right?
Yes. Okay. I know. Yeah.
Like the car like rams through and shit. And he's like just standing there while all that shit happens, like as Bruce Wayne, while like everyone else has run out. And it's like, does nobody around him think that this is weird? That this guy who never shows up to a thing, like sticks around suspiciously long after a major crime is committed.
That is true. I thought he was going to run out with like everybody and just like do the Batman thing like at that point. I did think that was kind of weird.
That makes a lot more, that they like kept panning him as Bruce Wayne still standing there, and then he like very quickly was Batman. You go ahead and say something about this because a train's coming by.
Okay. Oh, what was I? That's not the point I thought you were going to talk about. I thought you were going to talk about at the funeral. He's talking to the new. I don't. She's mayor elect. I think she's mayor at that point. She walks up to him and she is like, Bruce. She's like, I wanted to talk to you. And like the whole time during the scene too, I was thinking like, this is not the place to talk about this. I don't know why she's doing this, but she's like, you're not really doing much for the community or the city, and your parents were like really big on it. She's like, I thought you could maybe give us some funding. So I was starting to think that that might be the point where he starts to turn around and he's like, I can do like some things for this community, because I think that's the big thing. Like, I love Batman. Batman's my favorite DC superhero, and I think that's kind of the cool thing about Batman is he's Bruce Wayne, so he's a billionaire and he's helping the community as Bruce Wayne by like restructuring everything. He's giving tons of money to the city and like doing lots of work for the city. And then his alter ego, like at night, is of course Batman, and he's like a completely different way of vigilante. He's cleaning up the streets in the crime aspect. So there's not much of that in this movie, or there's not really any of it. But I was really hoping that scene was going to start to build to it, like if either in that movie, but now that I know that there's going to be like an extended universe of it, it would be cool if they start to do that in more universe or more movies or side things or whatever.
Yeah, that's my guess. Is like, I don't want to be too hard on it, because like I'm sure like it's very obvious that that's going to be his arc throughout the, I'm presuming, a trilogy.
Yeah,
Like sort of throughout that he becomes like more of the like charismatic billionaire that like Bruce Wayne is known as. But like, for judging this movie as a movie without other parts, like I just found like every part with Bruce Wayne was like really boring.
and I think that's where it could come out to really compete with the Dark Knight trilogy, because Christian Bale and I mean Christopher Nolan as the director, there's just such a great balance of that in the movie. Is he's this like really happy-go-lucky, like nice dude who talks to everybody. Lucius Fox, played by Morgan Freeman in those movies. They've got the R&D department of Wayne Enterprises. Of course, it's like further along. Like we said, this one's year 2. He doesn't have everything built up, but he like uses all the Batman assets, and he like interacts with people as as Bruce Wayne. So I don't know. I think that can really like put him up there with the Dark Knight movies if he starts to build this more light in the darkness, because I think that could work out really, really well with this series if it starts to go on like pretty long as a movie series. Is as we see maybe Gotham get cleaned up a little bit, maybe like Bruce Wayne is becoming more of a presence as that happens, or like is creating that, so he's becoming more of a like happier presence, and he's more in the community and involved, and Wayne Enterprises starts to grow. So like the R&D and like the suit would improve, the Batmobile improves, everything just kind of improves with that. So I don't know, we'll have to see where they go with it.
That's what my take mainly was, and the way I've been describing it was, as of right now, Christian Bale is like a better Bruce Wayne than Pattinson is, but Pattinson's Batman portrayal is so further ahead of Bale's, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think that, the little voice that's so famous now that Bale sort of coined, like I couldn't take that seriously when I watched the Dark Knight trilogy.
I think
here it's so much better.
That's part of it with this one. Is I don't even think he really does that much of a voice. He changes it a little bit, but I think it's just he doesn't really like talk or interact that much, and when he does, it's usually just with people that he trusts, like Gordon. So instead of like doing a crazy deeper voice, he just kind of changes his voice a little, but like talks quieter. So it's I mean it's really not a big deal.
That's the main thing, is like it's very understated, which is what Batman, especially of every superhero, should be. Like that's how he should sound.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, I don't know. His portrayal in that way was very good.
I think it's a big superhero thing, not really, especially in the DC universe, to not really change that much about yourself. Like Clark Kent, Superman, it's the same exact voice. He's literally a dude that wears glasses and like street clothes. So
Mhm.
I don't think they really need to change that much. They tried to do the extreme already, where they did the modulator with Ben Affleck, and that it just like, I understand it because he's this big billionaire gadget dude, but I don't know. I suppose it's better than using a gravelly voice.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely better than that.
yeah. But Selena Kyle, what did you think of Catwoman in this movie?
I thought that it was a neat sort of wrinkle to it that has not been in any like well-known live action Batman movie, at least, right?
Well, that was
or not any modern one.
Well, Dark Knight Rises. She was
she?
But exactly,
shit.
you forget about it. You forget about
Yeah,
it. It was, I think it was Anne Hathaway.
There's nothing to it.
And she's just like never in it. Well, when she's in it, I just don't think like it really hits. I think she's just like a jewelry thief, or like she's just trying to get Batman to run away with her or something. But in this movie, like Zoe Kravitz, I mean, already does a better, in my opinion, portrayal, and is just like more compelling. And Matt Reeves did a good I like take on it of like adding her in as some more plot points. Like she's Falcone's daughter, and she wants to fucking kill him. And she's got the tie-in of her friend died because she like knew that Falcone was the rat. So like that whole thing happens, and she's got the motive of wanting to get her friend back. That's why she goes in that club, and why Batman kind of tries to get her to be his eyes on the inside. And of course he's got the motive of wanting to find out who the rat is and everything. So but she just played a way better role. She's always like the love interest of Batman anytime she's in the movie. But I thought she did a really good portrayal.
Yeah, I was interested that they like that she's pretty much done, like for the next movies, we can assume, I think. Like with her going to that like different city. They said the name of it, but I don't remember.
I can't remember what she went in.
But yeah, I thought it added a lot that we haven't seen much of, nothing memorable of.
Yeah.
At least I guess in modern Batman movies. I'm trying to think. The other guy I wanted to shout out, the other actor, is Commissioner Gordon's actor. I don't remember his name.
He's really good, yeah. Because that's a different take on Gordon altogether too, because he's not commissioner yet.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Actor's name.
Very good. Was he in Hunger Games? He was in some other movie. And he had kind of a
like those same glasses
role.
he was in Catching Fire.
Catching Fire.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, he was really good. It's a different take. Like we said, he's not the commissioner yet. He's just higher up in the police squad. I don't know if he'll become commissioner in the next one, or if he's still a step down. I believe
they specifically said lieutenant.
Yeah. So he's not like when he's commissioner in all the other movies, he's able to freely move about and do everything, like with Batman, do whatever. But in all these scenes, like if he's letting him into a crime scene or something, there's still people questioning him. Like right at the beginning of the movie, when the Riddler like kills his first victim, the other mayoral candidate, he's like Gordon's walking with Batman into the crime scene. There's a couple of cops that give him a look, and one of them's even like, "Really, Lieutenant? Like, this guy's not coming in." He's like, "No, he's coming in." And he keeps fighting him on it, but eventually they let him in. So, but Yeah, it's really cool to kind of see that growth of him as he starts to take over and get more. I'm trying to think, not really demanding, but he's just more of a powerful presence as the movie goes on, especially in the within the police, and as he's learning that like every single cop is dirty, pretty much every
Yeah.
single power figure is dirty, which is another thing that I thought was cool about the movie. Riddler's kind of doing his cleansing thing of all these dirty people, so it kind of sets up a lot of stuff for the future. Dent could be like coming up as DA, because the DA in this movie was one of Riddler's victims.
Yeah,
I
I didn't even think about that.
was trying to think there was another victim that I thought, oh, the commissioner was one of the victims. So I thought there was someone else who seemed like he was ahead of Gordon, but Gordon could be becoming commissioner in this next movie. But yeah, I think that was a really cool way to, I mean, of course, it was a really good plot point already, but then to open it up as this, like the mayoral candidate wasn't in the pocket of Falcone yet, so she could kind of start this actual renewal of Gotham, and Harvey Dent could like come in as the DA, and we could see him like just being a good power hitter in the movies even before he like turns to Two-Face. But yeah, I think Reeves is doing a good job of playing both sides, which is kind of what like some movies have done. The dude who does the music for Star Wars like set it up where he didn't know what they were doing for characters, like, so he set up the music in a way where it could be either light or dark, and Reeves is kind of doing, I feel like, this thing where he had really good plot points of taking down people in power, so it can either just be that a really good plot point in this movie, or it can set up for like further down the line, if people keep enjoying these movies, to bring in like other villains like Two-Face, or like moving Gordon up the ladder and that type of stuff.
Yeah. Trying to think, there was something I wanted to bring up, but I don't really remember now. Oh, you brought up the action of this movie, and one scene that I think was super sick, and I think I've seen in another movie. You'll probably know better if that's a thing or not, but it's the scene where they're like in the hallway and the machine guns are going off, and so you like only see while they're shooting like what's actually going on.
Super good, super good. There are so many good scenes.
Such a good scene
in this. The camera work, I think that's why it's up there with Dark Knight Rises, even if the Dark Knight trilogy, is that even if the story wasn't as rock solid, I mean, I think it was still a really rock solid story. Just the camera work in it, so many of the shots, the action, the music were out of the park. Like you said, there's that scene where he cuts the power, and then he's in that hallway, and there's the one guy with the flashlight. He's got the pistol and the flashlight, and you're like, he's taking that guy out first, just for it to be dark. And then like that's how he progresses down the hallway, is you see the light from the guy shooting at him, and it's like, this is so cool. My favorite scene, and it was the acting of, I can't remember, I think it's Colin Farrell who plays Penguin.
Yes.
It was just insanely good, because he's this like I'm trying to shriveling, terrible like villain who acts like he's so tough, but anytime he gets in trouble, he'll just like whimper and everything like that. So it's the scene where they're driving on that interstate, and he's weaving through, and he hits one of the semis, and it just starts this crazy chain reaction. You can see the tanker and all these pallets and stuff, and Batman's driving through it and everything, but the tanker explodes, and he starts popping off. The Penguin does. He's like, I got you. And he's just so happy. And then all of a sudden, he just comes out of the flames, and his theme is playing it, bum, 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 like right when he comes out, and the Penguin's face just changes. He looks like he shit his pants. and he goes and he just Batman comes in the Batmobile, and we'll get to that after this if we don't have anything. He goes up and takes out the car, and the car just does a bunch of flips. And I kind of thought he was dead. I didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah. But he's upside down, and the theme's playing while he walks up to the car. I think that's just an insane scene.
Yeah, that was... I totally forgot about that scene, actually. And then you said something about the Batmobile, and immediately I like knew that was where you were going.
Yeah.
It was such a good action scene overall.
Mm-hmm.
And you said like you thought he was dead. And that's like, I think one of the big compliments of this movie is that I think they are so smart for doing a Batman trilogy, assuming again, a Batman trilogy that's completely standalone. Mm-hmm. Because now you're not like, oh, Justice League comes out in a couple years, Batman's not going to die, or like this person's not going to die. You're like, oh shit, like anything could happen because this is a standalone trilogy. Like they don't have to set anything else up. Yeah. This can be its own thing.
I think that's one of the cool things about this too, is that he doesn't have to take everything direct from the comics, like the different Riddler look and kind of style. I think it's cool to take certain things from the comics, but once you get to this cookie cutter thing where everybody wants everything to be from the comics, it's just this thing where you're losing a good chunk of your audience, and also the story's already been told. Why do you need to retell it on the screen? There's already so much of that happens. Sometimes it goes extremely well, but I just like this idea of, okay, we'll take certain things from the comics, but we'd also like to put our own like spin on it, which is super cool. And I feel like is one of the things I'll segue into what I was going to talk about, the Batmobile being like a muscle car with like a jet engine thing on the back of it. It's kind of cool. Like I get that kind of the appeal of the Batmobile in some other movies is like the Batmobile's gadgets, it's got missiles coming out or drop spikes or whatever, but I think it's kind of a cool thing that kind of goes with the darker like take on Gotham, and him still being pretty young, because he doesn't have like that crazy like research and development kind of department thing that he had in the Nolan trilogy. So it's kind of cool that it's just kind of this kitted out muscle car.
Yeah, and I think if you have the like traditional, I guess, Batmobile where it's like this big thing, all this shit, like all the gadgets and stuff, this chase scene becomes significantly less tense.
Yeah, that's
because true. Instead of having to weave through traffic, like chase after Penguin like this, he just like uses some sort of gadget to get a car out of his way or some shit. And like then suddenly he uses a grapple hook to like tether on to Penguin and like catches him like that. But because we don't, and because it's like this bare bones, like you said, like this muscle car with a nicer engine, like it becomes a thing of like, yeah, this is like a car chase, like way more grounded, I guess is probably the best word for it. And so I think that was way better. I think that choice, like that chase scene does not become as good unless this car is as like thin and like maybe not really thin. Yeah, thin, but like more maneuverable.
Yeah.
Than the more tanky Batmobiles we've seen live action before.
Right. What'd you think of the riddles? It's a big takeaway from the movie. We had the Riddler.
I don't really care about the riddles, man.
We're trying to solve them.
That's why I was saying, like, until that scene where we sort of get a more backstory, I was like, this could have been Joker and I wouldn't have known the difference.
I kind of enjoy it. I think it's kind of cool. Like that he had to go through all the not crypto, encryption, like kind of stuff. The symbols and stuff, trying to use the key to figure everything out and all that stuff. I think that's why there was so much of the detective side in it
That's true.
was because it's a Riddler. So I think like different adversaries that he have kind of requires different sides of him. Maybe that's why we've seen more of it, is because he hasn't really been a villain in a while, since I think we saw Jim Carrey as him. So that was old movie, but
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of cool to see that. It was also kind of cool. I liked this scene where I think it was pretty easily answerable riddles. That's how the DA dies.
Yes.
He gets that bomb around his neck, and the first question was like a really easy one, but I think it was a cool way to show of how, like, dude's got a bomb around his neck. He's not going to be thinking straight. Batman gives him the answer, and then the last two questions are just about like how we got bought off and like wanting to know who the rat was.
The second one was how much does it take to like buy you off?
Mm-hmm.
And he said $10,000, which like
pretty cheap for a DA.
That's pretty cheap for getting away with a crime. I would have to say. As far as that conversion rate goes, that's pretty nice. But then the last one was, like you said, who's the rat? And he obviously didn't answer.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was I kind of liked that sequence, because I thought Pattinson's Batman was just going to run away. I thought he was going to leave once the bomb started ticking down, but he was right there. He was right fucking next to him when that bomb went off. It's like, this dude's going to die.
Yeah.
Which I guess led to the police scene. So that was kind of a cool segue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, but here's still the thing, because I did like that real scene, but what is the difference between the Riddler saying a riddle and the Joker saying a joke? Because I think there is little to none.
Yeah, I guess once in a while he kind of does that, where he'll tell him a joke and it's supposed to kind of lead him to something. But I think Joker's like kind of thing is, he'll also just do like batshit insane things that don't make any fucking sense, right? Yeah. Like the dude blew up a hospital to fuck with Batman in a movie. He kidnapped Harvey Dent's wife. A lot of the Riddler stuff was, I guess, to get a message across, and then he had the ultimate thing of flooding the city. He had a certain end game to like flood the city and start anew. And I feel like Joker's whole thing really is just that. Yeah, just to fuck with Batman.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I do see your point. You know, I get that. I could see that. I feel like it was a good villain to start out with.
Yeah, true.
So you can only build from here. Of course, if he goes Joker second, that's always the biggest villain. So I assume, I guess if we see him in the second one, we'll see him in whatever the last one is. Because I feel like that was the issue with Rises. Bane's obviously still a good villain, and it was a really cool way to cap it off. But like comparatively between like those two movies, obviously Dark Knight's better than Dark Knight Rises. But I think I think out of like, if there's multiple movies, more than just two, I think the sequel, well, it's always either going to be the first movie or the sequel. I don't think I've ever loved the last movie or like third movie or any of that type of stuff more than I'd like the first or second in a series.
Yeah, true. So that how much time have we been talking? I don't want to go too far over.
I think like maybe 40 minutes.
Okay, I'll sit on this other thought for a minute then. I'll wait on that.
That's what I wanted to do.
I've got one to end with. So
okay, I'll think of how to space it out. Unless I'm taking it here. What did you think of Riddler's endgame to flood the city?
This was something that I thought was real interesting that DC's been doing a lot lately, is like, it seems like they're like almost, I don't really want to say mirroring, because of course real life's not like that insane, but like getting very close to like real situations.
Sure.
Because you have like this very QAnon, like pretty much QAnon actually, like conspiracy theorist fringe group that Riddler like creates to do this. Like, ideally, I guess the idea was like a massacre. It doesn't exactly happen that way.
Yeah, I guess it's more than just a flood, isn't it? They're using the
But
flood to get everybody in one spot, and then they wanted to like
and then
wipe
yes, they
everybody
have
out.
like these almost like not really copycats, but like worshipers almost of the Riddler, like planted all around this stadium that was supposed to be their little safe house. And then they sort of like, from there, we're gonna like kill all these people. And it's like, oh, like that's, I don't know, like it never, of course it hasn't gone that far yet here, but
Right.
like it's very much, I think, a commentary on like QAnon, that like fringe conspiracy theory type groups that seem to be spawning.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that always hits more to home when it's not like something insane that doesn't like seem like it could never happen, like never in a million years. Obviously, this is pretty like far-fetched, but it's like a thing that could happen.
And then of course that sort of coming like only a month removed off of Peacemaker's like White Dragon and that whole white supremacist type plot line that they had in that show.
I think the thing that I saw a lot was people were like, Matt Reeves must be really out of touch with social media because 500 followers isn't really that much. And it's like, yeah, but this isn't really a social media thing. He's not trying to get, this is like 500 sociopaths who are trying to corral people into a place and like kill them. Like even like 10 or 20 people, even just a handful of people would be scary. Like in that situation, 500 people.
Well, still though, all he says is 500 followers, which like, that's not a lot.
Right. Yeah. But it's,
if they would have seen like 500 people there, like, because I mean, we don't really have that sort of sense of scale at the stadium thing. Like it looks like there's 10 or 20 people.
Yeah. Which is still a good, it's still a lot of people.
But still, like, I think 500 was a bit low to show a grand scale.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, of course, like that's such a picky thing. Like it doesn't, I forgot about that line until you just said it. I'm like, it's not like it ruined my fucking movie watching experience because the follower count was low.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it could have been
higher. Right. I love that really the whole end sequence, just like everything that happened, because I mean, it's that new mayoral candidate. She's going to go out and speak, and Gordon's like, you really shouldn't. And she's like, everybody's too fucking scared in this city, dude. Like nobody's going to stand up for anything. I'm going to stand up for everybody. And it's like, you don't know how stupid you're being. And she walks out, catches a bullet. I mean, we see she's okay later in the movie. And then,
dude, I thought she was dead.
I did too at the beginning until Gordon like pulled her out. But yeah, then Gordon is trying to get to the top because Batman's up there. Very cool fight sequence. I like that whole thing. Him like trying to take everybody on. He's really just been playing catch up this whole movie. So now this is where rock meets a hard place. They're gonna meet up. Something's gonna happen. And he's doing real well, gets stuck on the Jumbotron. We see him struggling. He's he gets back up. That's the point where he's on the Jumbotron. Like I said, he grabs that grenade, sticks it onto one of the smoke machines and blows up smoke everywhere, doing real well again. For some reason, he runs straight at that dude with a shotgun. And he gets blasted. So I did think that was kind of stupid. And then he just gets, I don't know if he thought he was going to beat him or something. I don't know. So he gets blown away and he's grabbing on, holding on to the scaffolding above this arena. And this is it. This dude has this shotgun cocked, aiming it at Batman's head. I don't care what that helmet is made out of. Looks like probably rubber. So he's going to die. Shotgun right at the cranium, at least a concussion. So then Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, comes, saves him. Very cool. I'm pretty sure that's it. He's starting to fall asleep, but she starts getting choked out by one of the goons. And this had to have been one of my favorite parts of the movie, because the whole thing, Batman's whole thing, don't kill. We're going to do whatever we need to, but we are better than them, better than the guys on the opposite end. And he takes, I'm assuming it was like adrenaline, which I thought was super cool.
I don't know what the fuck that was, dude.
I thought that was such a super cool fucking thing that he pulled that out and then stabs it into him. And he gets up right away, goes at this dude, and he is laying into this dude. Like, he is going to kill him. And then I think it's Gordon comes up behind him and like pulls him off. Yep. And they pull the mask off the dude. And he does not look like he should be alive. His face is messed up, like red, black, blue, every color of the rainbow. And I thought that was kind of cool, because I think they asked him who he was, and then he said, "I'm Vengeance," which is like Batman's whole thing through the movie.
And that was when he had the turning point of like, I need to be more than this.
Which was really cool, because then it led into the wire coming down towards the water. Anybody in the water at that point is going to get fried. So he takes it into his own hands, doesn't really care what's going to happen. I thought he might die. He jumped and cut the wire from the junction box and fell down with that kind of light scaffolding thing. So it didn't like it was inactive and everything. So just went into the water. And I thought it was really cool how he came up, goes over to all these people trapped behind all of the metal and cars in there and everything, and starts to push him out of the way. And the kid who he has the interest in, that mayoral candidate's daughter or son, who passed away, his dad died. So I think he kind of had the interest just because it's, kind of the similar thing. His dad was mayor once. He lost both of his parents, and then this kid lost his dad, who was a mayoral candidate. He goes over to him, reaches out his hand to help him, reaches out his hand to the whole group. And they all just, he's this dude who's just feared. That's his whole thing through the movie. That's how the movie starts. There's criminals doing whatever activity, and they look into a dark corner, see the bat signal up in the sky, and it's just the possibility of him being there, the fear. So he honestly just operates off of fear and nothing else. So that's just his whole MO through the movie. And then the young fella walks up to Batman and takes a hand to help out. And then their new mayor comes and takes a hand. And then they just kind of start to pan out. Everyone's taking his help. They're all going over. The cops are coming down to help out. And like you said, it all culminates into the spot of Batman. We're assuming whether it's the next morning or later that day or whatever, he's helping people out of the stadium. They're getting flown out of there, taken to hospitals or just higher ground or somewhere to fix everything. And he talks about how he realizes now that he needs to be more than fear. He needs to be hope for the city, which is super, super cool.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like how the end of the movie, what did you think of the length? Because this is a big boy.
It is. It's also kind of a hot topic with the movie. There's a lot of people feel like there was slow points, but there was points where the pace slowed down, but I feel like kind of everything that happened was pretty prevalent to the movie. I think a lot of people dislike the point where it slows down with Alfred, but there's still prevalent information in that. He's learning about his dad, and Batman also talks about how he thought he really didn't have fear anymore, but he still has fear of losing someone that he loves, meaning Alfred, because Alfred is, which is kind of cool because they had kind of, those bitter interactions before in the movie where Alfred is telling him that he's just trying to help him out like his dad would want him to. And he's like, well, you're not my dad, so fuck out of here.
Yeah, that was this is kind of a different thing than the length, but I'll get back to that.
We'll hop back after this.
There was, I don't know, I didn't find him and Alfred's relationship to be very interesting. personally. Like there was the you're not my father thing, and I was like, oh damn, they'll kind of like touch on this a little bit, but then it's just him almost dying, and then like suddenly he's attached, and it's like, well, I don't. How did we get here? You know, like
I get that. I think it's just the type of thing where it's like you say that you hate your parents, and that because you're a certain age, and then time goes on, and you're like, well, I've always loved them. It's just get under your skin every once in a while.
yeah,
So
that's true.
That could be kind of the thing. I do understand what you're saying, though. You know, there's like, I feel like every other movie that they're in, they just have a great relationship because Alfred is the father figure. Right. And maybe it's getting to that point. Maybe I think that'd be kind of a cool place for them to take it is if Bruce is finally like, I do need help getting back into like this like Bruce Wayne state, because at this point I am strictly Batman. So if you could help me, that would be awesome. So maybe it kind of helps out with that. But I get what you're saying, though. It was just kind of this thing where they just kind of existed together. They're living in a mansion together, and then the package that gets sent to Bruce gets taken by Alfred. So
yeah, nuts scene, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was
built to that so much, and that was really cool.
I thought it was super cool. And then I think it was kind of cool how it kind of seemed like Alfred or someone in the mansion was supposed to get it, because when they have that Arkham scene where it's the Riddler and Batman, Edward looks at him and he's like, I told you I'd see you in hell. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
Arkham is hell. But back to the length, like you were talking about.
I never felt like bored by anything. So I was like, well, I don't mind. Like there was definitely a point where I was like in my seat and I was like, yeah, I've kind of been here a while.
Yeah.
But I never like felt the urge to like have to look down at my watch, be like, oh, what time is it? Which like I do that usually like once a movie. Mm-hmm. There's certain movies in theaters I do it for all the time. Like when we went to see In the Heights, Dan, I was checking my watch every 10 minutes.
There's points where
that was a too long movie. Batman is a long movie, but it's not a too long movie.
I think it always, like, you know, with longer movies, it's always like expectations and of course your taste in movies and it can ultimately sometimes come down to the content of the movie. But I feel like a lot of the times it's expectations and like the type of movie that you're expecting, you know, all that type of stuff. So obviously if you're not a superhero movie person or you don't really like the detective noir type style of the movie, I'm sure those points could get a little bit slower, but I enjoyed it. I would say the time was done quite well.
I think here we're getting toward the end, Dan. So I'll leave us with this. Where does the Matt Reeves trilogy go from here?
Well, that's
the Batman 2.
I'll piggyback off of that question for a little slice into it. Are you excited for this take on the Joker? Very small snippet, you know, but what do you think?
So here's the thing, is that I think who they cast, Barry Keoghan, would do a very good job. And the very small snippet with just like the laugh that we get in this movie, real good. Am I excited to see the fourth iteration of Joker that I have personally watched over 4 years? No. But I don't, it's so hard because people are like, oh, well, you can't do Batman without the Joker. And like, you can. There's a lot of other cool villains that you could do. But like, when we already had this, I mean, Heath Ledger, of course, like the classic one, like that's the gold standard, right? Jared Leto was in like the bad Suicide Squad.
Stinker on wheels. Stinker on wheels. I did not like that portrayal.
And he was not good in it.
No.
And also he was apparently very bad to his fellow cast members just for his portrayal to suck ass. Yeah. So that's kind of unfortunate that happened.
Right.
And then there was a Joker standalone movie with the Joaquin Phoenix, which I mean, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, how many times
That is true.
can we do this? Especially with that's what I was kind of saying, like throughout this is like Riddler and Joker are so similar. Like
yeah.
in the same trilogy. Like I think maybe if they end it with him, it'll be a little better because there'll be like space between the Joker movie, which was still like 2 years ago, maybe 3 at this point.
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
But like still, that's not that long ago. But like let's say a second one in this trilogy comes out in 3 years and then another 3 years. Then we're like 10 years removed from it. Mm-hmm. Presuming they don't do any like unneeded sequel or anything like that, then we'll be like 10 years removed from the last Joker. I mean, it's still pretty recent, but like that's not so bad. But definitely if it's the second movie, I'm not going to be that excited. But I think Keoghan would do a real good job if they show like a post-credit stinger at the end of this next one, and then the last of the trilogy is like him in this, like, then I think I might be like, oh, okay, cool. But next movie, definitely not.
I personally, I'm on the same train as you with like seeing him. You could kind of see the smile, which was really cool. You could see like it's a stretched out smile. You can see the extra teeth and everything. And that laugh, boy, that was piercing. I started laughing, or not really laughing, but smirking, because I'm like, this dude would do great. But I do think it's very likely he's in the next movie just because they showed that snippet. I think it's a possibility he could be in the third one, because there could be an Arkham breakout, and I don't think they would do that in the second one, because then we'd be seeing the Riddler again right after he got like put away and he was the main villain of this movie. So I think it's possible we see him in the third one. And I think you're definitely right. I think the trouble we're going to get into is people are going to compare it to Heath Ledger's performance, and they're going to say that it was just a bad performance, when really it's just Heath Ledger had this amazing performance in the Nolan universe, which are very different movies. And I will say that I think he'll always have the best Joker performance, but I do think that Keoghan's like performance and take on it in this darker Reeves universe could be very different and like super good. So I think that could be really good. As for where they go from here, to answer your bigger question as a whole, which good question, to cap us off on this episode, I think it would be cool. I want it to always be like this dark, dreary like universe, you know. I think that's a really cool thing. But to see it lightened up and cleaned up through these movies, and to develop Bruce Wayne more as a character, because I feel like that's, like I said, you don't have Batman without Bruce Wayne, because he develops the gadgets and the suit and everything, and develops the community as well, like through the philanthropy of Bruce Wayne, as well as literally cleaning up the streets with criminals as Batman. I think it's very hard to put your name in the history books as being top dog or with the top dogs if you're not having both sides. We see it with Spider-Man. You know, I think every movie's done well showing both sides, but I think we remember every actor as being better in certain aspects. People say that Toby is the best Peter, Andrew is the best Spider-Man, and Tom is like the best of both worlds. And I think as of right now, I think you said it best. I think Christian Bale did an amazing job as Bruce Wayne, and he was still a good Batman. Robert Pattinson is just a better Batman, and we haven't really seen his Bruce Wayne. Anytime he's been Bruce Wayne, he's been Detective Bruce Wayne. He hasn't been this philanthropist. So I think hopefully developing that, I think it would be cool to see villains that we haven't seen in a long time, like Poison Ivy. Frozone, we haven't seen him since what's your line? I can't remember, the Schwarzenegger.
Dan, no.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple things here, Dan. First of all, you said Frozone.
Oh, it's not Frozen.
Samuel L. Jackson's character in the Pixar movie The Incredibles.
Mr. Freeze.
Right. And second of all, the Arnold Schwarzenegger line is "Ice to meet you,"
I could just,
which is so funny.
If I can just get a post-credit scene with announcing Mr. Freeze in the third movie, I don't even need like a clip or anything. It's just a cell. Yes, it's just "Ice to meet you." I would die. That's all I need from this franchise. But no, I think they have themselves a very, very good base. They set up the world extremely well, set up all of the characters who are going to be reappearing super well, and they also have themselves a good base, like I said, to bring in some heavy hitters if they'd like. They can at least bring in Dent. He doesn't have to be Two-Face. I think it'd be it's nice to have that possibility, but also just have Dent as a DA would be super cool, I think, because it's a familiar name. But I think they're doing a very good job. They've set themselves up well. We'll just see if they continue to execute. Need to keep the theme for Batman. Whoever's doing the music in this one, real bangers. He also did. He killed it. He did Up, and he did. I think No Way Home.
This is the same guy who did Up, dude.
This is the same dude. Look him up. You can go to his IMDb.
So much makes sense, actually. Wow.
You can go to his IMDb.
Because Up soundtrack is fucking great. Okay, exactly. Wow, yeah, you're right,
dude. Yeah, he's got a lot under his belt. Anything else you want to toss out there about him? I don't have it pulled up right now, but
let's see.
Michael Giacchino.
Nah, man, those are the heavy hitters at least.
Ratatouille.
The Spider-Man.
You're not going to put out Ratatouille?
Batman. I'm not gonna. I actually wait. No, Ratatouille's got some bangers.
Yeah.
It seems like he's just Pixar's guy.
Really? Yeah. Big Hero 6 is on here. Well, he was a musician,
movies.
I guess. He was a musician in that one. He didn't do the score. But yeah, no, I think they've got some real good heavy hitters. Reeves did an amazing job. Giacchino did really good with the music. Reeves is the director, so he probably had a lot to do, but heads of the camera or the camera department, extremely good shots in it. I think it can go up from here. Just depends on how they execute, and choice of villain and stuff can always stir up some interest in the public. So we could, I think it'd be cool to see a mix of stuff we've seen before changed and stuff that we haven't seen before. It's always a gamble, but I think he could make it pay off.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't.
What was that? Is that going to be it? What
I think
final?
That's where we wrap her up here.
Out of 10 bats. 1 to 10 bats.
It's a 9. Not quite a 10, but it's up there.
I'd say 9 bats. Yeah. I would say Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight, probably 10 bats or as close to 10 bats as you can get so far. But we'll see if the Batman 2 is it going to be the Batman the 2 or
the Batman.
The Batman. Be cool. Bring in Night. Well, you can't really do that. I guess he's still set pretty early in his career, but we'll be looking forward to that next movie. Boy, what do you think the next spoiler cast might be? Should we speculate? Doc Strange.
It's a dangerous game.
I guess that's July, isn't it?
All right, man.
Might have something before then.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing: here's the criteria for us doing a spoiler cast. If a thing comes out and we like it, we're gonna do a spoiler cast. I think that's just how it is.
That's how it's been so far. But I also think if there's something that comes out that we hate, could be potential spoiler cast. So if you got any, you guys know any terrible movies coming out, preferably just on streaming, so we don't have to pay for it. We could look into that. I need to get back to posting on socials. Maybe I'll put that as a question out on socials. But I think that is going to do it for spoiler cast. Nothing else to toss in on the Batman.
I think we're all good here, sir.
Very solid movie. If you've listened to the spoiler cast, haven't seen it yet, much recommended. Of course, if you don't want to dish out the cash, or maybe you just don't want to go see it. I'm sure HBO Max, big hub for DC. So going to be a few months, possibly could be a year with how big of a name it is. I suppose. Can't remember how long it was for Suicide Squad, but sure, it'll be out on HBO Max eventually. I'm definitely going to rewatch it probably day it drops. Super good movie. But if you haven't seen it, highly recommended. Almost as highly recommended as Stuck at the Kids Table. Can't give it that high of a rating, you know.
Yeah, it's a little short there.
Pretty good podcast out there. I like both the guys.
Oh, yeah.
But that'll do it for us this week. But we will see you same time, same place next Wednesday.